Find the measure of x in the right triangle. So from x, we have the hypotenuse because that's directly across from the right angle, and we have the adjacent side to that angle. So hypotenuse and adjacent, or adjacent hypotenuse, that is cosine. So the cosine of x is the adjacent over the hypotenuse. Whoops, 21. So we have to solve for x by isolating x, and we do that by using cosine inverse of 8 over 21. So let's see, functions, cosine inverse, 8 over 21 is 67.6. The time it takes to build a frame for a new house varies inversely. Let's stop right there. If it varies inversely, then that means x times y is always equal to some constant number k. Okay, so k is always a constant number. So the time varies inversely with the number of workers. So time and workers. If 15 workers can build the frame in 4 weeks, so 15 workers in 4 weeks, now we can find our constant of variation. So 4 times 15 is 60. So k is always going to be 60. So x times y is always going to be 60. All right, so how long will it take for only 10 workers to complete the frame? So if we don't know x, we want to know the time, but we know that y is 10, we can solve for the number of workers, or the amount of time that way. So we have x times 10 equals 60. Divide by 10 on both sides. So the amount of time that they would take is 6 weeks. Sue's paycheck varies directly with the number of hours she works. So now we have direct variation. So direct variation tells us that y is equal to k times x, where k is always a constant number. So if she earned $240 for working 30 hours, right, well, let's stop right there. If she earned $240, and that was equal to whatever her wage is times 30, so we're going to say 30 times k, whatever that constant is, we can find what her hourly wage is, and then multiply that by 22 to see how much she would make for working 22 hours. So we'll divide by 30 on each side. So that's 240 divided by 30 is 8. So k is always equal to 8. So y is always equal to 8 times k, or 8 times x, which is the same thing as 8x. And we want to know if she works 22 hours. So if x is 22, what would she make? So 8 times 22 is 176. Find the length of x. So from this angle, we have the opposite and the hypotenuse. So that is sine. So sine of 55 is opposite over hypotenuse. So to solve for x, we just need to get rid of the 59. So times 59 on both sides. So we're going to plug 59 times the sine of 55 into Desmos. Make sure that you're in degrees. So I'm going to go up here. I see degrees, so we're good. 59 times the sine of 55. So that's 48.3. An urn contains 3 red marbles and 4 blue marbles. So we have 7 total. 1 marble is selected at random, its color is noted, and it's returned to the urn. So since it's returned, we still have 7 things in the urn. Then we draw another one. What's the probability that it's red? Well, there are 3 red marbles. So 3 out of 7 is our probability. Okay, a rectangle has a width of 4 minus x units and a length of x. The area of the rectangle is represented by this function whose graph is shown. What is the domain in this situation? So notice that it says the area is calculated, which is the length times the width, where the width is 4 minus x and the length is x. Well, your domain is always the set of possible x values. So yes, this graph is shown and it has a domain of negative infinity to positive infinity, which is all real numbers. But in this specific situation, x has to be a positive number. Because you can't have a negative length. Right? You can't have a negative length of something, and you can't have a length of 0 of something. So it has to be bigger than 0, and it can't be any more than 4 because a couple of reasons you see here on the graph. When x is 4, then the area becomes negative after that. So we can't have a negative area either. So the graph has to be positive, and the x value has to be positive but not bigger than 4. So we're looking at basically this part of the graph here is what we want. Not equal to 0, but any x value that is between 0 and 4. Evan is attempting to solve the following radical equation. Does he make a mistake? Well, looking at the first step, he can square both sides. That's fine because he has the radical there. Then when he's solving, notice what happens here. The square root of 4 squared is not equal to 8. 4 squared is 16. So he made an error in step 2, where he didn't square 4 correctly. All right, which of the following represents the graph of the equation below? So since this has a negative a value, or a negative ax squared, that means that it is flipped upside down. And the plus 2 represents the y-intercept. So the y-intercept has to be positive 2, and it has to be flipped upside down. So the only option there is B.